Hey, what's up guys, this is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Big Bad Toy Store exclusive Beast Kingdom Superman DC Superman Black Suit version DAH045SP. It's the Black Suit Superman. I mean, we didn't need all the other stuff, but I had to because it was all on the front of the box. Anyway, so the deal is, like you guys know, I'm not particularly into Superman or clothed figures in terms of actually having soft goods on them, but I was talking to Big Bad Toy Store and they said, would you like to review this? I said, I'll review it, but I am going to review it, not just do a promo type thing. They said, that's fine. So this is what is going to happen. I'm going to review it like I would any other figure. I'm going to be completely objective as much as I possibly can manage. I'll mix in a lot of personal interjections, but the rest of it is going to be objective. So if you're into soft goods, you know I don't like them, I'm going to be as objective about that as possible so that you get the information you need rather than just my opinion. So, there's a lot to talk about with this guy, so let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. Alrighty, so this guy stands just about 21 centimeters. That includes his hair, so technically a little bit shy of that for scale purposes. And that's going to be about 8¼ inches, including the hair. And it is marketed as an 8-inch action figure, so I suppose that is okay. I think this is the same company that I reviewed a few figures of a while ago, and I thought they were horrible. They didn't have soft goods, this one does. Maybe it's better. It's not really. Alright, what we're going to do is question of the day, two-parter. Most of you, I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How do you feel about soft goods? Do you prefer them? Will you tolerate them? Or do you just outright not like them? That's where I stand. I don't want them. No soft goods, please. None of my action figures. I don't want it. They don't scale well, they impede articulation, it doesn't look good at scale. Even in Hot Toys it looks a little bit weird still, and they're super fancy ones, so I don't like it. Okay, and then the second question is, which version of Superman is your favorite? Comic or cartoon only, please. I'm gonna go with long hair, red and blue classic suit. I don't know why I like the long hair so much, but I do. Alright, so this guy, we're going to do a size comparison just because I didn't do it yet, and I wanted Darwin to get some action. He comes up to the nipples, and that sounds about right because it's not even meant to be in scale, so what was the point? There was no point. Comparisons are mostly silly. This guy is interesting because the the underneath figure is silver, and that allows it to peek through a little bit, kind of like the way they did Superman's suit in the Joss Whedon Justice League movie. I think they did it for all of them, but that one was particularly noticeable. You can see silver poking through. Maybe on the thighs it's noticeable too. That's kind of a decent look. Like, I'll take that. That's okay. I think it would have been better to just have nicer looking cloth, because this just looks like really, really thin nylon spandex hybrid, if I had to guess. It doesn't look great. There is like a little bit of like piping, if you want to call it that. It's just a little flat black line that goes around, which does add some detail to the figure, and that's nice. The S logo is clean, no problems there. The belt and trunks, I don't like that. That weird vinyl that they do, Mezco's doing it too. I don't think anybody likes that. It looks weird, it folds funny at the hips, it makes him look like he's got kind of like a weird body. Which, by the way, this figure's anatomy is freaking weird. Mezco is known for the stumpy figures. And I know Mezco fans, oh, you're just a hater, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they look ridiculous most of the time. This is not much better. He's very weirdly shaped. He's very stumpy and bubbly and weird. And especially if you look at the traps and neck area, it's humongous. The part that's showing up here is huge. Also, they did just a terrible, terrible job at finishing the top part of his outfit. Like, that's ridiculous looking. This part is connected, by the way. It's like either glued on or wrapped around or something all the way around the front. But the back has a zipper and these flaps, and his musculature is so weird. And he's got little tiny shoulders with this giant set of traps, and his rib cage is humongous. His pecs are tiny and forward. He's very weird looking. It's almost unavoidable with clothed. I don't want to say clothed figures because technically he's clothed. He's got a suit on, but actual cloth, it's hard to avoid that. But this figure does not do a good job. I don't think anybody really does for the spandex suit, like the super suit. It just doesn't ever look good. And this is no different. I think it looks ridiculous. So let's move on to the sculpted parts. The boots are okay, except the hinges are black in silver boots. So that's just cost cutting. They didn't want to mold those in a gray or silver, so they just molded them in black and didn't paint them because you can't paint that material. The painted parts look nice, but the hinge looks ridiculous. This part looks okay, I guess, the paint that's on the vinyl. And now it's time to talk about the head, which I guess is okay. That doesn't really strike me as a Superman sculpt. It's a good sculpt. It looks like a guy, generic guy number 2, maybe Superman you created in a video game, in a different media that's not meant to have Superman in it. It's well done, I guess. Enough. The eyes are super light blue. Paint job around the ears for the hair and sideburns could be a lot better. I don't like that there's hair, or that the back of the neck is molded out of black to be part of the hair, but it's okay. So, I don't know. Like, I guess if you're really into this sort of thing, there's enough stuff that's decent enough about this that it's passable, but to me, it's just like, I don't get it. To me, there's nothing good enough about this to make it worth getting. And we'll talk about the alternate head in a minute, but aesthetically speaking, I think this thing's a mess. It looks ridiculous with the weird bubbly torso and the weird huge traps, the tiny shoulders, the hips that bump out real far. Just the whole thing's a mess. I'm going to rate it a 3 out of 10. It's not a good looking figure. Don't like it. As far as accessories go, you did see the normal face, the neutral face. We do have the yelling face, which has a humongous mouth. It is huge. It's really, really not acceptably large. It's too big. It's also got a tan colored throat area, which sounds weird, but if you're gonna have the mouth open like that, you need to paint it black, or at least like a deep red on the very back. But flesh color does not make sense behind the tongue. It looks ridiculous. Sculpt work is okay for the eyes and nose area. He looks like he's yelling, but the mouth is huge, so don't care for that. The rest of the sculpt work is the same as the neutral head. But the 2 fist hands that come on in the package, and we get 2 different karate chop / flying / whatever hands. Then you get 2 different sets of loose / style pose hands. That's okay. You do get 2 broken chains that just look really cheap. Not good. Having the links filled in with plastic looks cheap, and he doesn't really have hands to grip them, so that's weird. Doesn't look good. And then lastly, we get a display stand, which is like a high polished black acrylic with some white artwork on there and printing, and that looks pretty good. And it's a decent enough display stand just for having him be standing upright. You're not doing any crazy poses with that. So accessory wise, 5 out of 10. The chains look cheap, the head looks weird, hands are acceptable, and the stand is acceptable. So I'm just not seeing the value in this release so far. Maybe the articulation will make up for it. Hint, it won't. Okay, so the head is on a double ball peg, and I want to show you this because I've been talking about double ball pegs for a long time. You guys, I'm guessing right now, before I answer, I want you guys to type in if you feel like participating in a way that doesn't really make sense, but if you want to, go ahead. What's wrong with this double ball peg? I'll give you a hint. It has nothing to do with the top ball being hollow. That doesn't really matter. Okay, hopefully you've answered or paused the video and then answered and then come back to this. The second ball, you can't see it. It's all the way down in the neck, so you have virtually no range. It doesn't go anywhere. It has almost literally no range side to side. It might not even be a ball, but it is. I can see it if you look all the way down in there. There's no range. The ball should be right at the top of the neck. His neck should be longer first. Like, this thing is just a mess. The sculpt is so weird. The ball is weird. The head connects to the body in a weird way. It's terrible. For the torso, the chest is connected to the abdomen with a double ball peg, and I'll show you how well that works. It leans around pretty well, but if you move it, like, at all, it disconnects. What the heck? It's like there's almost no resistance. You can see the silver underneath the abs in there, but you can't see those when he's not disconnected. So I can't even tell when it's pegging in because there's that little bit of retention on the ball peg. So technically you can pose it, not a whole lot, but it's gonna pop off all the time. It's super annoying. The lower torso, you can rotate it a little bit, and that's okay. Leaning a little bit, not a whole lot. So the torso is very limited, and the top part fell off as I was posing the bottom part. So that's really ridiculous. The shoulders have a butterfly joint that's ratcheted. Oh my gosh, the torso is not connected again. Okay, so I have it ratcheted all the way back so that it doesn't look ridiculous in the neutral. Then you can ratchet it that far forward. So 2 clicks, and it looks ridiculous because it actually moves the shoulder forward. Like, it looks like he's got some kind of deformation, I almost said. Too much 3D modeling recently. Oh, this thing is such a mess. Luckily, the cloth is transparent enough that you can see through and find that ball peg, but so it just pushes the shoulder forward and it doesn't accommodate for any posability. You can't do anything with it. It just brings it forward. It's so weird. And it fell apart again. Oh my gosh, this is the most annoying thing I've reviewed in a long time. This is almost as bad as the Revoltech Amazing Yamaguchi Iron Man. Okay, so butterfly joint's terrible. Bringing the shoulder up is okay, but you can see how much lower it is than it should be. This thing is hideous. You do get your rotation, and the cloth will fight you, but if you rotate the cloth, you can raise his arm, no problem. You just have to spin the cloth around on his shoulder, so that's okay. It doesn't seem like there's going to be any problem with that. Bicep swivel is okay, but loose, double jointed elbow works nicely, that's fine. You have ball hinges in the wrist, that works okay. No real problems there. We already covered the torso. For the hips, this gets in the way a little bit, but you can still get them out to the side about that far, so that's okay. And they go forward far enough. I think that's fine, that's horizontal. They go back just a little bit. So surprisingly, some of the articulation is okay, but others is terrible. Thigh swivel is in there, so that works nicely. Double jointed knee, not the best looking thing in the world, but it does work nicely, so that's okay. And then for the ankle, it's a ball hinge, but you don't really get a lot of range out of it, and it's really loose and weird. Ankle rocker, not really. This thing's so poorly designed, poorly engineered in most cases, and poorly implemented. Toe hinge is floppy and loose and ugly. So yeah, this thing's a disaster. Articulation-wise, I'll give it a 4. There are way too many problems. Some things work okay. I can't even find the ball peg in there to get them back together. The elbows are alright. The hips are okay, the knees are okay, the wrists are okay. Like, there's a few things that are fine, but ultimately it's terrible. Also, I think the head's too big. Okay, articulation, I already rated it. Final verdict on this thing. It's a disaster, if you ask me. I don't think this company is doing a very good job. They need to figure stuff out. I can't imagine they're going to be around for a very long time if they keep releasing stuff like this. Are people that buy clothed figures that into the clothing that they're willing to have an incredibly subpar experience in every other way? Is it that worth it to feel the cloth? Because to me, it's not. It's ridiculously bad. And the clothing doesn't make it better, it makes it worse. You'd have a so much better figure if you just sculpted it. It's weird, like the musculature underneath is not bad. Well, the chest is pretty weird, but the abs at least are good, the thighs are good, the arms are okay, but everything else is weird, and the transition from cloth to plastic looks ridiculous. The proportions are all over the place. Ugh, this thing is hideous. One of the worst things I've reviewed in a long time, frankly speaking. And so I'm going to give it a final rating of 2 out of 10. There are a few things that aren't terrible, but ultimately, it's a huge pass. Like, do not buy type of thing. I told them I was going to give them a review. That's what they got. Sorry, Big Bad Toy Store, if you're watching this. It's a bad product. I would suggest not doing business with these companies as far as exclusives go with your name on it, because this is not a good figure. This is not something you want to be associated with, if you ask me. It's my personal opinion there. Okay, there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down, and if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel, so make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.